First of all, why did you guys pivot into just straight into AI?
I would say, to me, the thing that was really interesting about it was it felt transformative in a way that
we're entering an era make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
I'm a little worried about the AI stuff.
all the people are talking about agentive AI right now, right?
Yeah.
And this is a good example of what you have there, conceivably, is your agent that you're making. That's going to need to go out. One of the coolest things about AI is so we don't have this theory that like social media was like kind of democratization of distribution. AI is kind of democratized creation, meaning that like suddenly the floor is raised for everybody that wants to create things. There could be 100%, and this is like the Wall-E problem, right? The risk that I always find is that like, how do you bring the human side into it? There will be something lost, but then will those people be able to have more time to do things with their family? Maybe.
Gavin, Kevin, so glad to have you guys here.
Oh, we're psyched. We're psyched to be
Dude,
here.
this is great.
Yeah, it's fun.
So you had me on your show.
Yep.
That was a really fun show.
Well, good.
I had a ton of fun because like for me, you know, we're all AI geeks, like we're playing with all the tools, but you guys are like living and breathing it. I'm like a few steps removed. I have to hear like 3 people be like, hey, this is cool. And I'm like, all right, let me go check it out.
Are you still elfing yourself? Are you like in jib jab
Yes.
era of technology?
I'm in jib jab. I haven't broken out. But I wanted to have you guys on because you're so in the mix on what's going on here. You're giving talks about this stuff. Like, can you tell us and the audience is watching, like what are you seeing? Well, first of all, why did you guys pivot into this arena? Like you both had very successful careers doing other things in video.
Yep.
Yeah.
But AI was enough to be like, okay, we have to join forces to make this happen.
To me, the thing that was really interesting about it was it felt transformative in a way that I hadn't felt since way back in the Web 2 days, right? Like Web 2 was this really interesting moment, and I was never like really in it. You got into it, but tangentially watching it, it felt like, oh, suddenly everybody's out there and able to interact. You can make stuff yourself. When YouTube came out, Twitter came out, Instagram, Dig, all these things started, it felt like, oh, this is a moment of something where we are changing the way things are made. And that's what AI felt like to me.
Yes.
And I didn't want to, Kevin and I do this like as a fun thing and we were really interested in it, but like we started doing, GPT-3 is what we first saw. If you remember GPT-3, it was like 2021. We were both kind of blown away by what was possible. Then that was, you know, if you're not familiar with the backstory, that's OpenAI started, you know, before ChatGPT, they had been releasing a bunch of GPT models. That model was the first one when you interacted with it. It felt like almost like you could do this character stuff, which we really liked.
Yeah, I would say even GPT-2 was like a turn on in a way that I think this room and maybe some of the audience will understand. Do you remember the first time you heard the modem handshake noise?
Oh, of
and
course.
you actually connected to another machine, right?
And you just were like, oh my God, I'm actually talking to another computer.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're really dating ourselves here.
No, but that's the moment, right?
Yeah.
And I remember it vividly.
The iPhone was like that too for me.
Yes.
There's only like 4 big moments in like my last, like call it like, you know, 20 plus years in technology where I'm like, a big shift. Yeah. Holy shit. We got to pay attention. It was dial up. I would say from there, it was like Web 1 was really interesting because PayPal came out of that.
Yeah.
eBay came out of that. Amazon came out of that. Some of the bigs that are still around, obviously. Then it was, Web 2 was interesting because that was like interactive web pages in a way that we hadn't seen. You know, asynchronous JavaScript allowed us to vote on things and then make like real-time comments and have like a living, breathing web.
And UGC, right? Which I think is a huge deal that people still underestimate in a major way.
People generating their own content, blogging, like self-expression, like the following feature, like that Jack, and when they added that to Twitter, because you have to remember before that was all bi-directional relationships. So if you wanted to follow someone on MySpace, it was like, I friend you, you see request, you accept request, now we can share. And so when it turned to following, that was like, that really screwed up society. Like that was the thing.
That was the problem.
Forget one-to-one, let's go one to everyone.
One to everyone. And that's where all of a sudden the town hall was now a global town hall, and it was like, it was crazy. But anyway, that moment, the smartphone. And it wasn't the first smartphone, because you remember like the Palms and like the Windows devices with the little stylus and shit. Those were horrible.
But I was saying it's those tingly moments, right? And I remember even with GPT-2 having that broken magnet poetry. You know, like someone's just replacing words on the refrigerator and there's kind of a sentence there. I remember seeing that and going, oh, wow, I've been here before. It was that weird sense memory of this gets better. Like this is something we say all the time on the podcast. Right now is the worst this technology will ever be.
Right.
Yeah.
It only gets better from here.
I know, which is super scary because it's already
really
pretty damn
scary.
good.
Yeah, but there might be one thing we also talk about is there might be a lot of legal things that get in the way of it, or people that get in the way of it. And I think that's the other side of this. And on our podcast, we try to deal with like the human version of what these things are. And the technology is going to probably go exponential for a long time, right? So far, you can train more data, means better models, but what are the consequences of those things? What does it mean if there's a better model? What does it mean if that model can produce a deep fake of somebody in 5 seconds, right? We just talked about...
It's going to happen though.
Yeah.
I don't think the legal thing is going to be a real thing. I'll tell you why. So I've seen this unfold a couple other times. When Uber first came out, everyone tried to regulate the hell out of them. But consumers said, actually, I really like Uber. I want to use Uber. And if they didn't do it, other startups would fill in other countries and other jurisdictions. And it was like, they had to change the laws. And they did, and Uber, it was fine. YouTube was the same thing. YouTube almost went out of business. They were getting sued left and right by the major industry players because they were putting all kinds of copyrighted material on there, and they didn't have smart systems to go in and find all of that stuff in real time. Google kind of saved them. I don't know if you remember when the acquisition happened, but they were under a lot of pressure. And then Google said, you know what? We have deep enough, pockets here. We're going to go in and actually settle these, figure out the terms. Same thing happened with Napster, with music sharing. Like when consumer behavior changes, these things will get ironed out. I think there'll definitely be lawsuits, no doubt. Sure. But there'll be settlements and we'll move on.
I think that legal red tape is only going to slow down the bigs so much, right? Because
I don't think it'll slow them down.
Even if it does 1%, let's say, it doesn't matter because if you use the Uber analogy, there is an open source solution right around the corner where it's like, hey, do you want to drive? Well, it's not for Uber, it's for the open source taxi delivery service.
Right.
We're seeing that with AI,
right,
where it's like the foundational models might get under attack. They might have to guardrail it so you can't generate SpongeBob smoking blunts on the couch. But there is an open source something,
for sure,
freely available. You can grab it, and they're going to keep iterating on that. They're going to keep working.
That's exactly right. Because like anytime you crack down on something, there will be an underground version of that thing that works, and it's just going to happen. Like I've seen this. I mean, you guys have seen this. I've been invited into these Discords where you can go, you know what I'm talking about, and you can
walk away.
What's going on in your Discord, bud?
No, you can do some crazy shit.
Yeah, sure.
You can break all the rules, and it's like, and that's not. Those are just whack-a-mole. Like that's not going away. And then you got other countries that are like, yeah, U.S., go ahead, regulate this, please, so we can just jump in here and just rule because we won't have the same regulation.
That's why the pause letter, which we talked about a lot, which Elon and a few tech luminaries signed, that's why it was just so laughable. It's like, you guys need to slow down, pull this big imaginary lever that doesn't really exist to stop development, stop training, stop advancement. Meanwhile, everybody else is going to lap you. And by the way, I'm trying to build it in my closet.
Right. That's the whole thing. They're saying, hey, why don't we pause? Yeah, you pause. I'm going to actually over here. I'm going to keep building really hard because they're just trying to, it's not working.
I think the question with the YouTube model is the most interesting one, right? Because YouTube went from being what was a lot of pirated content to now whatever it is, like a $150 billion business. And all of the big people came onto it.
Right.
Like, that was the thing where like CBS, NBC, all these people that weren't going to be part of YouTube now are because it's a great distribution channel. The big question I have with this is like, who will be the person that wins to be the place where all these companies are going to lean in on? Is there a person that wins? Because with YouTube, you could make all those deals. Yeah. What does it look like if it's 15 different things and then all that stuff exists?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's going to be some type of bidirectional relationship that is beneficial to both parties. So like, I'll give you an example. This is a true story. My wife woke up this morning and she goes, hey, my my Whoop data is like saying that I'm off today. Like I'm a little bit under, and I'm wondering why I didn't have any drinks last night and blah, blah. I'm like, why don't you just ask the AI? Because it's built into Whoop right now. So Whoop has a prompt and you can go in there. Mm-hmm. And I literally took her phone and typed in like, why am I in the orange today or whatever? And it was like, oh, your heart rate was a little bit higher than normal, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, that's powered by, whatever, ChatGPT or whatever is behind the scenes there, using your real-time data as part of the model. And so there's a beneficial effect that I have to imagine when we're talking about the New York Times data, when you're talking about, Washington Post or any of these walled gardens, they'll have private models that you'll be able to say, hey, I'm a member of ChatGPT, but I'm going to do the $2 a month add-on. Kind of like when I buy Apple TV and it's like, would you like to add stars for an extra $2 or whatever? And you're like, all right.
You tell me we're building a cable bundle again? Is that what we're doing?
But I kind of feel like it's going to be that way. We'll extend it in interesting ways and say, actually, it is interesting for me to have the back catalog of the Financial Times because I value that quality of reporting and I want that as part of my stack that I'm getting back.
Or it's an add-on for a subscription, right? If I'm a New York Times subscriber, which I am, I would be able to get that as possible as part of the thing. Right. That is valuable for 100%. Sure. Right. The question I still have is like, okay, if I want to have SpongeBob interact with, you know, I don't know, Luke Skywalker, whatever, those two people together, they have the power to do that now. That's all the legal background stuff that has to get solved to kind of make it fun and interactive.
I don't know if it's fair use though, man. It's just going to be considered fair.
You think so?
I mean, if you create a full feature film with SpongeBob in it, I think you have some grounds to say like, let's not do that.
But like, I think if you're a verified license holder, which is where we're heading, it's like, well, do you have the Disney Plus package and you have the Viacom, Nickelodeon, whatever? Okay, you can get SpongeBob being force choked by Darth Vader. You can have it. If you want to release it commercially, that's a whole other thing. And if we decide to allow you, you'll maybe get a small, teeny tiny royalty, but who are we kidding? You're probably going to get nothing. Yeah. They'll get everything. Thank you for making the next worldwide sensation meme.
Yeah, I mean, we see this with YouTube, right? Like if you release something with a commercial song, it detects that song related to it.
It gets paid back.
It gets paid back. It knows that you used it. Like I have a feeling those rails are being built right now.
Yeah, and by the way, that's great because we talk about it all the time on the show. One of the coolest things about AI is we don't have this theory that like social media was like kind of democratization of distribution. AI is going to democratize creation, meaning that like suddenly the floor is raised for everybody that wants to create things, whether that's audio, video, movies. There could be the whole thing about Twitter or anything like that was always, here's a bunch of kids in Africa that are making an incredible film and now it can be distributed everywhere and they have the tools to do it. Well, now there could be 1,000 of those kids and they might be 2 kids doing it or 1 kid because all of the tools are going to be big enough for them to be able to do it. And the downside of that is the deluge of stuff we're all going to have to deal with, right? Because it's just like with YouTube, when YouTube first came out, the whole thing was like, there's so much crap here. Yeah. But there were gems, and now the gems are more because there's more people doing more stuff. With AI, we're gonna have the exact same problem. There's gonna be so much stuff, but you hope that stuff can bubble up that's gonna be really good.
So if you follow me on the Instagram, I'm sure you've seen I'm doing 90 days, no drinking. Today is day number 25. And I've upped my cardio a ton, which feels great. I've been rucking a lot, which is where you put this weighted backpack on while you're hiking. At the end of my workouts, though, I'm sweating like crazy, which is good, but you need to replenish your electrolytes. And sadly, most of those replacement powders out there are just packed with sugar and they go straight to gut fat, which is the reason I use Element. There's no sugar and it has a science-backed ratio of 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Not only no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, just no BS. Element is used by everyone from podcast hosts like me, NBA players, NFL, NHL players, Olympic athletes, and everyday moms and dads and exercise enthusiasts. Right now, Element is offering a free sample pack with any purchase. So that's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. That's a great way to try all 8 flavors because they have a ton of different flavors. You can try all 8. Get yours at kevinrose.com/element, LMNT. So that's kevinrose.com/LMNT. This deal is only available through my link, so you must go to that website. And lastly, and the best part, is totally risk-free. So if you don't like it, share it with a salty friend, and they will give you your money back. No questions asked. You have nothing to lose. Huge thanks to Element for sponsoring today's show. Today's sponsor is NordVPN. Stay secure and anonymous online with NordVPN, which has been my trusted VPN for years now. I like it because you can access geolocked content from anywhere. So I'm in Japan or Mexico at least a couple times a year, and I want to watch my favorite shows. And this comes in really handy to bypass all of that geofencing, and it needs to be fast. This is another essential thing for a VPN, and Nord is lightning fast because they have thousands of servers. So if you want to stream and game without lag, it's great. And then equally as important is privacy. They have a great policy, no logs, nothing to store, nothing to see, nothing to share, which is pretty much as good as it gets. And their apps are just really lightweight, so it's not bogging down your system the entire time, and they have it for desktop and mobile. Don't miss this incredible deal, which is 2 years at a huge discount, plus 4 free months if you use my link, nordvpn.com/KevinRose. That's nordvpn.com/KevinRose, and it's risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, which makes this a no-brainer. Do you think that AI is going to be an information, like, is it a lean forward or a lean back experience? Like on the lean forward side, you're creating content, on the lean back, you're consuming it. And for me, you know, I mostly use it as a lean back. Like I used it to create some funny images and make myself look a certain way
in
and
those questionable discords.
Yeah, you know, I got myself ripped with the 6-pack, and I won't say what else, but like, you know, you can do fun things with it on that front. But there's a novelty to that kind of wears off. And then on the lean back, like I'll give you an example. Before you guys got here, I was like, okay, I wasn't getting video out into these squares here, and like, I don't have time to sit on hold for an hour with Blackmagic and be like, how do I figure this out?
Right.
And so I was like, ChatGPT, I was like, why am I not getting program out of the blah, blah, blah? And it's like, have you checked the setting here and this and that? And like, it's solving customer support. I mean, in a way that like companies are
for
love.
sure. Oh my God. I think customer support is a huge use case of it right now, because we talk about this too all the time. We have a problem. You can solve 90% of your problems with ChatGPT. It's really shocking, actually.
Well, we're already seeing that though with call center displacement and support teams being slashed everywhere because they're just putting all the training docs and FAQs into a GPT and letting it answer the questions. But then you also get like a Chevy dealer in California that was recommending Teslas, by the way, and selling them for $1 because they
found
weren't
a way
properly
to broke the
guardrailed.
chatbot.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah, there was a GPT-powered chatbot on a Chevy dealer's website.
That's amazing.
And people were negotiating with the bot and saying, so wait, you'll sell me this Tahoe for $1, basically. It was like, yep, anything to get you in, to try our whatever. Guardrails. But to answer the
was that legally binding? That would be amazing.
They're trying to get it. No, they really are pushing right now.
Oh, they're trying to get it for $1?
I think so. And it also recommended that you drive a Tesla, which is very funny. But to the lean back versus lean forward, I think it kind of depends on the end user. Like we're already seeing, if you go to, we've talked about Suno and Udio, these AI song generation apps. Yeah. There's plenty of people that are now just using them as their daily soundtracks and going through song after song, absorbing the wall of data that everybody else is generating. But there are people that are in there every day putting quarters into this slot machine and rendering songs.
I think it's also about the effort of lean forward versus lean back world happen. Like the effort is going to be way less now, right? And again, that's not about that's not about the idea that like you're going to make great stuff if you lean forward with less effort, but it's way easier than it was before. Yeah. So we talk like Udio is a good example. Udio or Suno, like if you want to make a song, this weekend I made a song just as for our podcast. And I made a 2.5-minute song, outlaw country song, and it took me about an hour, and that was like more effort than most people put in, but that would have taken, I don't know, 2 weeks before to get the same result out. So you
would have had to have learned the banjo.
And
well, how to sing.
That part, yes, of course.
Like, but let's not discount that.
But I could have taken like GarageBand and plugged a bunch of instruments in and like found a way to do all that stuff. But so I wouldn't have to learn the banjo, but I would have had to learn the system.
Can you explain to people what these tools are for people that haven't heard them before?
So one of the coolest new like entry points for AI is AI music. And so Suno.ai is one tool. Udio is another one that just came out. Suno was created by some guys for the MIT people that we've interviewed on our podcast. Udio are former DeepMind people? DeepMind people. So they're both systems to allow you to create songs, basically. It is
off-text prompts.
Off-text prompts. So there's two different ways you can get into it. You can either just literally put a prompt in. In fact, we could probably do one live and say like a song about 3 guys on a hot podcast, 3 middle-aged guys.
You almost said hot tub.
Yeah, hot tub.
Yeah,
or a hot tub.
Your imagination 3 guys needs to.
3 guys recording a podcast in a hot tub.
3. Let's make them shirtless. Just for the 3 shirtless dudes hanging out in the dude suit.
Few dudes.
Yeah. Or you can put lyrics in. Right. And so like what I did is I just, I'm not an amazing writer, but I wrote just this dumb song with some lyrics, and you put in a verse and a chorus.
How seriously did you take it?
I mean,
he spent an hour on it. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot.
I thought he was like discounting himself, like, I'm the best writer, but you're working on your country album.
I tried to play a little bit.
Did I put on my chaps? Did I grab my rhinestone cowboy hat? Yeah, I had to get in the character.
Well, one of the cool things, you should check this out. There's a song right now on TikTok that is exploding. That is all AI generated. It's a guy named Obscurest Vinyl. It's a TikTok handle called Obscurest Vinyl. There's a song that is called.
I'll just say real quick that the profile is great because he's making it seem like playing to the obscurest vinyl. These are long lost records that you might have found at a thrift store, but they're songs and bands that never existed. And they're using AI art for the vinyl cover art. It's beautifully done, but they're all slapstick
and they're dirty. Like
songs.
The one that's blowing up, I'll say you can bleep whatever you have to bleep. It's called "I Glued My Balls to My Butthole Again," and it's like set up like a 1950s like kind of like almost twist song. But it's exploding. Exploding is maybe the wrong word.
We'll put a little bit of that music playing now.
Yeah, totally.
In the background.
But again, this is what I tell people. We both have told people is, if you want an entry point to see the power of these tools, this is an emotional thing. Whereas like ChatGPT is a logical thing, but images and music is emotional. And when you can show somebody what that feeling is, I am a creative person in my soul, and I've always been one. But if somebody isn't a creative person or they don't see themselves that way, you give them the ability to do this, it can be a big deal. I think it can open somebody's brain to be like, oh my God, I think I made something cool. That to me is the promise of the generative AI tool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's just fun. Like it gets you, like I did one for my girls and put their names in it and they were laughing their asses
Yeah,
off,
exactly.
you know? And it's
Yeah.
just like that kind of like entertainment value that combines creation and entertainment is really cool.
Now, one of the wild things about the Suno model is that it's like a diffusion model. It's the same way that images are generated right now for Stable Diffusion or Midjourney. So basically, in broad strokes, when they were training this model on music, they were feeding a bunch of songs into the machine, but not actually telling it, this is music, this is a chorus, this is a verse, this is a style, this is a BPM, this is a rhythmic measure. They weren't giving it anything. They were just feeding it stuff and saying, now just generate noise and let's see what happened. And the machine essentially pattern matched and learned, oh, this is the right structure for a song. This is rhythm.
Crazy.
This is, and then they would go in and label and categorize and fine tune and say, okay, this is percussion.
Like
this
that.
is this.
It's
Isn't that
too
scary? That's scary.
It's too scary. Remember when Google had their language conversion, and then they were trying to figure out the most efficient way to convert and translate languages, and they trained the AI, and the AI figured out its own internal language to communicate and translate the languages.
I remember when Facebook was doing that.
Its own.
Facebook was doing that to have bots automatically negotiate deals, and it started speaking in a code that the engineers didn't understand, but it would just spit ones
That's when
and
you turn the
zeros.
servers off right away.
No, that's when you put googly eyes on them and you give them guns. You got to go like, hey, they figured it out. Send them to the front lines.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
fun.
you know, so I mean, the software side of things is fascinating right now. Did you see the Boston Dynamics robot that they showed off yesterday? If you're familiar, they made the big dog robot and everything.
Of course. You can't kick them over and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is
but the
their
videos of them trying are great.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 days ago, they announced that they were retiring the Atlas, their hydraulic-based bipedal robot, and the internet was like,
that's not the dog one. That's the
no, this is the
That's
humanoid that
human.
can walk and does parkour and
Yeah.
they're done with it. And everybody's like, oh man, too much technical debt. Boston Dynamics, they're in trouble. Clearly, they realize that like they're being lapped by all these AI startups.
Figure One, all
and then
that
they
stuff.
just mic dropped this little beauty here. This is video of their new electronic battery-powered robot.
Yeah, because every other one had that tether hooked up to them.
Look at that strip it back up.
Wow.
Right?
I don't even know how it's, I mean,
And so-
humans can't do that. But,
so
shit.
Yeah, if you're listening, if you're just on the audio only, this robot shrimped its legs backwards up to where its hips are,
Yeah,
stood up,
like a gymnast.
rotated its entire torso around to face what you thought was backwards, and then march at a human speed towards the camera and then away from it.
So
and
what's the battery life on that thing though? Like 10 minutes.
Yeah, probably.
It's
Yeah.
like-
That's all I know.
But again, it's the worst it will
that's
ever
all I
be,
need.
right? In some ways. And that is the big future thing that we, again, talk about every once in a while is where do you go when the AI isn't just here on your phone or isn't in your computer, but is everywhere and is walking around?
Right.
Like that becomes a thing. I've talked to my family, like I have, a wife and 2 kids, and like, would we have a like robot person, household person? Sure. But like then it becomes a question of like how far away are we from that?
Yeah, but what is it? I mean, I had a Roomba before.
Well, and it's terrible, right? I hated my Roomba.
And even if I could talk to my Roomba, like when I'm gonna be like, hey, you missed a spot, like what are you gonna like, what is, they have that Amazon little robot.
yeah.
And I don't know, it can't get you a beer.
Did you
It
see
can't,
the figure demos? Figure 01?
Yes, Figure 1 is the new startup by it's an independent company, right? Brett Adcock, I think, is the guy that's behind it. Anyway, he's their CEO. They have built ChatGPT into their robot, which is pretty cool.
So, you're not wrong, right? Like the use
I
case
saw,
is
this
now.
is the one where sorting the plates and putting the
Yes,
plates. Yeah, I saw
and
that.
handing the apple and doing
I mean, it
things.
takes
That was
forever to
cool.
do it.
But the reason, I think the reason this gets exciting is that, it's all end-to-end trained. So they are either teleoperating robotic arms with cameras so that it has a perspective, or they're just feeding it, probably stolen YouTube video.
Yeah.
So that it can learn and contextualize the world and the environment. And when that pathway gets unlocked, like Tesla's doing with self-driving, then suddenly every day, conceivably, your new
it's a good
home
point.
robot can have new abilities.
When watching that video, there's no doubt we're less than a decade away from something doing my dishes.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Get a scrub daddy.
What's a scrub daddy?
It's the two-sided sponge from
Scrub
Shark
Daddy?
Tank.
Man, you got to get in the ground.
When was the last
you got to live life.
When was the last time you came down from the ivory tower with your rappel ropes and went to a damn Walmart?
I should walk off this podcast with Scrub Daddy.
I'm writing this down right now.
I love that the notes are like democratize creation, get a Scrub Daddy.
Just so Scrub Daddy was a big Shark Tank
checkbox next to it.
It was a big two-sided spun.
I do have a question though. When you said Suno is one, and then what was the other one for audio?
Udio.
How do you spell that?
UDIO.
Which one's better?
Well, it's an interesting thing. What I have found, so I just spent about a lot of time with Udio. Udio is the best one if you want to make a full song. Okay. Suno has a lot of really interesting generational stuff, but Udio has that ability to extend out. And when it extends, this is another magical thing about it. You think mostly when you deal with AI models, you're used to kind of things being a little wonky and being like, oh, this is not going to be as good. Like when you go to ChatGPT and you want to change an image into something else. I had this experience with DALL-E. We're like, hey, I got this really cool image out of DALL-E 3. Can you make this, that? And then suddenly it's a totally different image.
Right. Yeah.
What they're really good at, Udio, is consistency.
So you can say, okay, I like the way you played that song. I want to make a band out of the song with multiple tracks in the same genre and the same tone and the same vocals.
I would say not yet, but that's got to come because they're able to extend one song out. So they should be able to
within a song, it will continuance and coherence hold. So if it's a certain singer's voice or a harmony of them in the chorus and you want them to come back later singing a bridge, you can prompt that.
Can you prompt it and say like, hey, you know what? At around 12 seconds in, I didn't like this break.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So music is pretty new versus all this stuff. But what's cool about Udio is you realize, okay, they have the coherence to make it consistent for that time. Those feel like doable steps after this, right? Yeah.
But what you want is like a digital audio workstation type approach where you can generate a song or just generate the drums or the guitar or whatever, and then highlight a section
and be like, I have this little beat in my head. Can you make it into something real?
Yeah, and those tools, there are some tools that exist that do that. But this was something, I don't know if this is the exact clip, but this is something that kind of blew my mind. This was a Udio generation.
Okay.
You ever step on a Lego barefoot? It's like, congratulations. You just unlocked a new level of pain. Forget waterboarding the sea ice. You just scatter Legos on the floor.
Wait, this is doing comedy stand-up?
Yeah, it does stand-up.
Holy shit, because I have some good jokes. I just never want to I do.
You got it now, yeah. So it can do that because it's trained on that sort of thing as well, too, right?
Yeah. Okay, so wait a second. So which one did that?
That's Udio.
Yes, okay, Udio stand-up comics.
Yeah.
Kevin, Fame, and Fortune. Okay. That's amazing.
That was AI written jokes parsed into
AI written jokes.
Yeah, I think I don't know if that was. I mean, people are doing that. They're using AI to write
I think
the
that
comedy.
might have been somebody's stand-up bit that he put in there. But the idea, the other thing they can do is like sports commentary, which is interesting. There's another thing in there where you can hear. We should call out McKay Wrigley, who's a really interesting guy who does a lot of AI, kind of like toying around with stuff. Is the one who found that out. Play the Dune song because there's one of the fun. This is the one when I first heard Udio, I was like, what in the hell is going on here? So somebody made a Dune, you know, the movie Dune, right?
Yeah.
Dune 2. They made a musical, a 1960s musical version of it. Again, this is what comes out of the machine when you put custom lyrics
This
in.
is one prompt, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Paul Atreides of Arakeen, the greatest leader we've ever seen. They say that he's a listen Al-Gaid.
Oh,
right? Isn't that crazy?
So like,
you should see him ride on a sandworm's back.
how great.
So pause that. So the benefit of this kind of thing is, again, you can prompt and say like, make me a song about Dune. This person is a very creative person, wrote lyrics to a song about Dune 2 that the model read. And I'm sure, like my experience, he probably went through multiple generations and then got something he was happy with, right?
So I can make my own Christmas albums.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In like 50 styles.
And then, by the way, you can take your family photos and do the lip sync to them and have your friends and family singing your Christmas carol or your Christmas card. But you want to try to
probably make
now?
a 1950s Christmas song.
All right, let's talk about something near and dear to my heart, investing. So for me, I absolutely have to have someone that is in my corner, that's a trusted partner, that can look at everything holistically. And the best type of professional is a CFP, which are certified financial planners. You're probably saying to yourself, I have one of these people at X bank or at this financial institution, and I did as well, but I stopped doing that because these people charge you a percentage of your assets under management. It absolutely sucks. It eats away at your returns. Do not do this. Even if you don't support my sponsor, don't do that. But I do love my sponsor today, Facet. So Facet is cool because they don't charge you a percentage. They just have this affordable membership fee. So Facet is building the future of financial planning, making professional financial advice accessible to the masses, not just the rich. And they also have the full suite. So you also get access to their team of experts across retirement planning, tax strategy, estate planning, and so much more. And it's just, again, an affordable membership fee. This is what I love about this company. So for listeners of this show, Facet is waiving their $250 enrollment fee for new annual members. For a limited time only, you got to head over to facet.com, facet.com/Kevin Rose to learn more. Facet.com/Kevin Rose. Please use that URL. It helps out the show. And check them out. All right, confession time. I'm always trying out new software. And if I'm being honest with you, I jump ship to new stuff all the time. It drives my wife crazy, mainly because she's like, what are we using now? Why do we have to move? I will say there is one tool, one application that I've been using for years now, and it just keeps getting better. And that's today's sponsor, which is Notion. I use it to take notes for the books that I'm reading. I use it to track movies, track articles. I actually have the Chrome extension, so I can save articles directly to my Notion that I want to go and revisit later. It is my personal hub for all the things. Now, professionally, it's equally as awesome because you can create these dedicated team spaces that are kind of quarantined and walled off from all of your other personal data. So on the team side, we're talking about guests that we're booking, show notes go in there, publish dates, pretty much anything and everything for the podcast. So it's my all-encompassing just life hub for all the things, my entire life. So Notion combines your docs, your notes, and your projects into one space that's simple and beautifully designed. And now they have a brand new AI. The fully integrated Notion AI helps you work faster, write better, and think bigger, doing tasks that normally take you hours in just seconds. And I've tried the AI out, and it's cool because you don't have to bounce out to a third-party AI app. It's just all built right into Notion, which is great. So try Notion. I know you've heard of Notion, but you probably haven't tried it. If you haven't tried it, go and check it out right now. So try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/Kevin Rose. That's all lowercase letters. Notion.com/Kevin Rose to try the powerful, easy to use Notion AI today. Make sure to use our link. You'll be supporting the show when you do so. So notion.com/Kevin Rose. Well, now we're jumping into a different genre of things. No, I'm curious, like, how do we actually get lip syncing to work? Because that's not the same tool.
Okay, I'm so glad you
so glad you asked.
Yeah.
Well, okay, here's one to write down for sure. And I don't. It's Pinocchio.computer.
Oh yeah, you'll love this.
Pinokio is the way that it's spelled.
Okay.
Shout out to the sole creator, Cocktail Peanut. We love you. Hashtag not an ad, but boy, do we wish it were.
Yeah.
Pinocchio is a Mac and Windows-based executable. It makes downloading all of those crazy GitHub repositories with all of the different dependencies and the different environments and all of that stuff.
CUDAs and all that stuff.
One click.
Yeah.
And it manages it all for you, even your checkpoints and your model. So if you're hearing all this and it sounds like spaghetti, just know that you can go to Pinocchio and go, oh, face swap, click.
Yeah.
And now you'll have access to face swap. And so I can fire it up if you want to see it.
So this is, okay, let me, I noticed you're on a Mac. Like, is this do you sometimes have to jump to Windows to do these things?
No, there are a handful of programs that are still NVIDIA only because NVIDIA kind of owns the AI ecosystem. And
you're on an M3, so you're not going to be able to use NVIDIA.
That's flattering. I'm on an M2. That's very flattering. Okay.
I would have thought you
tough times. Yeah, I cut my own podcast. All right. We had different trajectories. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Some go to the moon and some go right into the dirt.
Listen, I started Moonbirds. It's like, we all have our shit.
Amen. So this is Pinocchio running on the MacBook, right? And you can see I've got a bunch of different things installed. One of the apps that I love is called Face Fusion, and they're just basic front ends for these open source, very powerful AI tools. And so this thing will load and give me a local IP that I can connect to. You can share it across your network. You can open it up and share it with your friends. So if your friend has a powerful computer or you've got something running in the cloud, you can go that way. This is Face Fusion. And it may seem overwhelming at first, but if you just want a face swap, which is the box there, you drop in your source, a photo.
Oh, this is easy.
And you drop in your target and you just hit start.
So when you said powerful computer, when you're thinking about doing this stuff, you've got your M2 here.
Yeah. Which is a laugh line.
No,
I like that.
no, but do I need to? Do I actually need to have a proper rig? Like, if I'm going to do something intense, like 30s, like let's just say I want to do, I see oftentimes they'll take Lex Friedman had Zuckerberg on where they swapped out the audio and lips into a completely different language. You know, if you were to do that for an hour and a half podcast, let's say,
Just be patient or buy a powerful rig.
when you say be patient, are we talking like hit go and I come back in 3 days? Or are we talking about like 2 hours worth of
Probably a
rendering?
day.
A day,
Yeah,
okay.
probably a day.
So you need a proper rig.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I mean, some of this stuff that we do when we go and do talks, we do face swaps and generative
Live.
like art.
Live.
We do it live.
Yeah.
And we
All
talk to
on
models
this.
live on this thing
So
here.
what is the stuff that actually takes time to do? Is it the length of what you're trying
Yeah,
to do?
I think that's the length is a big thing, right?
And
How
quality,
much-
right?
yes.
If you're doing lip sync, like if you're dubbing a mouth, but you're doing it in 4K at ultra high res and at 30 frames, each one of those frames has to be analyzed, processed,
Right.
and then enhanced, right?
And it
Is
could get
this
screwed
CPU
up.
or GPU bound? Mostly GPU.
GPU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to have just a badass NVIDIA GPU.
Correct. Or your M2, there are some like Core ML enhanced apps. You know, not all of them are, but if they are enhanced to run on the Max Silicon, they scream.
Yeah.
They go really well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And more stuff's coming out like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I can. I mean, if you want to see,
Well,
like
let's walk through.
Let's
what
walk through some
Fusion
stuff,
is,
yeah, I'd
because
love to
one of
see.
the things that's cool about this, and deepfakes have been around forever. Right now, I should say it forever, but for 3 to 5 years, what this is open source. It is fast and is doable by everybody, right? It used to be that deepfakes, you know, there was that company that like Trey Parker and Matt Stone started that's deepfakes
Yes.
that you have to like.
They were
and
using
that-
it, for
yeah.
movies
Deep-
and
deep
stuff.
voodoo.
Was that the
Deep-
one
yeah.
that was it Tom Cruise that was being done a lot?
were they de-aging him with it?
Yeah.
no,
Oh
they
no,
were
you're talking about the
deepfaking
guy,
him.
the fake
Yeah, the
Tom
fake
Cruise
Tom
guy.
Cruise
Yeah, I
guy,
think they
yeah.
were part. No, that's a different company.
Okay, that's a
but
different
the
company.
same sort of
Okay.
idea. But those were like big computers, right?
Yes.
And the rigs are much nicer. This is literally we're going to show you kind of like what you can do with again an M2 MacBook. And anybody can do. And this is the democratization of the creation thing,
Yeah.
where it really feels like it's not just like you have to have a giant studio set up. You can kind of do anything with anybody.
I was gonna see if I have, because I have an example from like 2 years ago where I in real time was making myself look like Keanu Reeves, but sounding
real
like
time.
Joe Rogan
Yeah.
in real time with open source software. So Deep Face Live or Deepfake Live are the apps that basically Trey Parker and Matt Stone's company they forked that code.
Yeah.
And they started updating it to add features and make it, you know, pretty bulletproof.
And what's the name of their company?
Deep Voodoo.
Deep
Deep
Voodoo
Voodoo,
is their
okay.
company, yeah.
Do you guys, I bought NVIDIA stock a while ago once I saw people were snapping up the GPUs
Yeah,
to do this
smart.
stuff. Do you guys actually invest in any of these things, or is it something?
I mean, the only thing we really kind of wanted to invest in was Suno early on because we talked to them. But
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't for lack of trying.
No.
But they wanted quality investors.
it depends. It just depends on what it is.
I do
right?
own, I mean, I guess I should full disclosure, I do own some NVIDIA and I own a lot of Microsoft. When
Yeah, I mean,
Microsoft
I bought
was
Microsoft
trading
too,
at
yes.
a pretty good deal,
Yes.
and I saw that they were going real big on OpenAI.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
smart.
I can't get
Yeah.
OpenAI, but I can go for Microsoft.
Yeah, and Amazon, all the stuff that seems like they're being smart about it.
Yeah.
So this was now 2 years old. This is off of, I'll give you this file so the viewers can see it. This is off of a standard webcam
Okay.
running on a basic computer with an old NVIDIA graphics card.
So
on
like
it.
1080p, like this is an HD.
It can be HD with a proper graphics card.
Okay.
But I mean, this is happening in real time.
Okay. Holy shit.
So that's him talking. He called me like this with Joe Rogan's voice.
Holy shit.
Real time voice, real time video.
Shut up.
And that's 2 years ago.
I can't do.
You look amazing though.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. If only I could
So
look.
much better. He's so much better.
But
Holy shit.
so that was me using voice AI.
Wow.
Which was
Has that gotten better now?
Yeah, of course.
But is
Of
it the
course
same
has.
package that's the best one to use?
Well, I cobbled that together. So I used,
Okay.
it was an app called Voice AI, and I took the output of that and patched it into OBS, which was grabbing my
Yes,
webcam
right.
feed through the deepfake thing. And I just had to change buffers and delays so that as I was talking, I was navigating a 100, 200 millisecond delay. So I couldn't hear myself back as I was doing it. I just
Right.
had faith in the app. But Gavin can attest, I started calling people,
Called me up.
video chatting
Yeah.
people as Donald Trump and whatever. I had my family so confused. I had friends going, what is going on?
Yeah.
Because I can't do a Donald Trump impersonation.
No,
I can't-
exactly.
And I would just in real time, I took a couple meetings for show pitches and I had it on did not realize. It was all minimized.
Oh my
And so I was
God.
just chatting to people and everybody was, huh? And then when I realized what was happening, I slowly did a slider. So it took me from Keanu and Donald Trump down to me now. And it ruined the pitch because everybody's like, what's that? You know? But that's 2 years old.
Yeah.
Holy
2
shit.
years old. So
now do you do all, like if someone's watching this and they say, I want to play with exactly that, would you use Pinocchio to do that now?
I would say get Pinocchio. That is a great first start. It's really easy to gunk up your computer and break it with 1,000 different Python versions and installs and all these things. And you don't even have to know what that is.
Right.
Get Pinocchio. It makes it one click. It's free. And then if there's a tool you want to get good at, whether it's Comfy UI to generate stills or really cool videos, if it's Face Fusion because you want to face swap and do the lip stuff that we're going to show you, go down the YouTube rabbit hole. Because it'll take you about 30 minutes of watching a tutorial and you'll be able to run it.
That is one of the biggest things about this space is I would say Kevin's much more technical than I am. I mean, we both grew up very nerdy, but like I was able to use YouTube to learn how to do things like Comfy UI and Stable Diffusion, which is an open source model and isn't really a easy way in, right? Like it's not the easiest way in.
It's super powerful,
but the beauty of YouTube tutorials is you can step by step through it. And once you step by step through it and you understand that, not only you get good at it, but you've learned something about interacting with the computer in a cool way. And for normal people, I always say like, try it. There are all these off-the-shelf things that are being built as wrappers for all these things. You know what I mean? Like anything, there's a wrapper that you can pay for. We talk about this thing called Magnific every once in a while, which does style transfer really cool. And that's $40 a month. It's a paid tool. And the guy who made it is a nice guy. But like
when you say style transfer, what do you mean by that?
So style transfer is very cool. So you can take an image of anything and say, I want this to look like, you know, you can take an image of you and make you into a low poly 2000s PlayStation model. And you can
literally
just
look like a
transfer the
PlayStation
style of the image. So, you know, all sorts of AI tools have had these built in a lot of ways, but the amount of different things you can do with generative AI goes up significantly.
Where I think, if I may, where I think it gets really powerful is that you could sketch a square and a sphere, right? Just that's it, and tell it I want a 3D modeled scene with realistic lighting, and then draw like 2 lines and say, and this is a yellow light, and it will take your 2D sketch and turn it into a full color architectural drawing. It will give you character art based off of your sketches. It is that the style transfer feature,
and it'll give you like
bring life.
proper like CAD 3D files or whatever it may be.
There are workflows that will do just that. So there's a workflow that we featured on this week's podcast. Is that what you're hunting for? Someone sketched 2D like robot parts. Did a style transfer with Magnific to make them look like really good sketches, then used another tool to turn them into 3D model files.
And then you can press
assembled the robot, and then used another AI tool so he could dance around. It grabbed his poses, like his motion data, and then he applied it to that model. This is someone who couldn't do that normally, who had a workflow where an hour later from sketch to dancing robot in his streets.
And it was so cool to see that stuff just come up from regular people. Right? Like that's the incredible thing.
I think the skill set that we're all going to need to embrace, and I think about this with my kids, is like, you know, it's less about when they go to college, or if there is college at that point, like what is the core foundational knowledge that they will need to be successful. And right now, what it appears to be is just this idea of tinkering. Like this idea of learning how to push boundaries and play and break things to get new outcomes. Like, would you agree that's the best way to approach
honestly,
AI?
play is the thing I tell everybody to learn right now, because if you don't know how to play, you're not going to make it in the future world, because what we are always going to have to be reinventing ourselves in some way, because it's a little bit of like stay one step ahead of where the AI is, or embrace the fact that the AI is going to be with you that whole time. And you do have to keep learning, right? Like that's the thing.
It's funny. I'm going to age myself again, but I grew up, you know, with computers that it was not cool to be into computers. There was this group of people right around my same age that made fun of me, that said, I'm not going to learn how to type, because I had typing class. And people were flunking out. Like, it was optional. And people were like, I don't want to take typing. And like, I was like, well, I want to learn. I like computers a little bit. Like, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to learn how to type because it's going to speed me up. And so nobody likes to learn how to type. It's not fun. But I like found a little race car game when the car goes faster if I type faster and shit. I was like, all right, whatever. And then, you know,
you befriended Mavis Beacon. She gave you a couple little things.
100%. I love Mavis. She's hot. So the thing about this though is that we're at that point again. You have to say, I want to play. I want to learn this. Don't just say, oh, it's AI. Like because you're going to screw yourself.
But learning ASDF is one thing, but the learning process here you can make some really incredible things, some incredible art. You can optimize your life. You can streamline your own tasks. Like the learning here might be watching a YouTube video, but you are actively playing along and making some pretty magical stuff.
Oh my God, what is this?
So this is we talk about having AI clones. I just built mine. So this is a live video avatar.
Wow.
And I don't know how to code. So this
is all off the shelf. That's the crazy thing.
So it's listening to you?
Yeah,
Well,
I can toggle speaker.
yes.
I'll
Yeah.
toggle it right now. So like, what question did you want to ask the AI?
Hey, how's it going? I just want to say hi. We used to work at G4 together way back in the day. I'm sure you remember that. You were really popular with the ladies. I'm just wondering how many partners you had during that time.
It's a fantastic query and one that I have trained it on extensively. So it's going to nail this. It's going to absolutely do great. But again, I cannot reiterate this enough. I don't know how to code. I went to GPT and to Claude, which is another large language model.
Gavin, you're such a memory box. Yes, indeed, it was a wild time. I was so irresistible with my bills from a counting collection of ties and nerd knowledge. Now, when you ask me about sexual partners, you're counting Dungeons and Dragons characters. If we're counting them, I'm into triple digits.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty prolific.
Wow,
Yeah.
triple digits.
Triple digits. So you get it, right?
But what's cool about this is he trained that on himself as
Yeah.
well, right?
I
It's not just
fine-tuned a model, and and I used embeddings.
It's
to make
interesting
sure it
you
had
chose
memory.
yourself. Like you could choose, you could have gone like any direction you wanted with this.
is
but
what
you
I'm-
wanted to have an
Wait,
conversation.
well, notice
with
I didn't
yourself.
scroll down below the nipples.
Yeah.
like because you can generate any body
So,
you want.
well, hold on. This is actually part of the reason I joked about the sexual stuff is that like one thing that really disturbed me, I heard about a week and a half ago was somebody came on the podcast and they said they had a friend that is spending $10,000 a month on AI
girlfriends.
Yeah, that was we did our kind of New Year's predictions for the year, and I said this will be the year of the AI influence.
And I didn't know about these sites because they're kind of underground still.
Yeah,
Not a lot of
yeah.
people talk about them. Like,
and now you can't close the app.
I went there. I didn't pay for it, but I went there, and I don't like that everyone can buy the same model.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
interesting.
that's your issue with it. I don't like to share. If I'm in the sandbox with my toys, they're my toys.
well, it was just maybe I should bleep that out.
No, it's great.
There's so
No,
many
I
things-
get what you're saying. It seems weird, right? If
It
you're paying
seems
for an
weird.
AI experience, you might expect it to be bespoke.
How do
Right.
you
And it's
spend 10K
1-to-1.
on it? How does it 10,000?
Well, apparently you have to. We have
You pay
multiple
for
accounts.
image generation, you
Image
pay for video
Oh,
generation, you pay
interesting.
per minute with the chats, just like the old hotlines
Oh
that
my
we're going to pretend we
God.
never
Wow.
use.
Yeah.
That's what's happening now
Yeah.
with these apps. And we've talked about this before. Like, on the one hand, man, a properly guardrailed and aligned AI can do a lot to help folks out there that don't get a lot of human connection, that don't
Yes.
have friends,
Yeah.
that have trouble
100%.
talking with other human beings, let alone members of opposite
Well, I
sex
mean-
or whatever. But
Yeah, there's well documented, like just to on the one side, there's insanely well documented different modalities of psychology where we could really get in here and help people.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
that would probably bridge you to even get to a therapist to like, because a lot of people see a lot of anxiety around even admitting they want to talk to a therapist.
yeah.
I think there's a lot to do there, but the girlfriend thing is
But what happens when, because you're putting dollars into the internet machine,
Yeah.
it is going to agree with you.
Yeah.
It's going to laugh at all your
know.
jokes. It's
I
going
know.
to side with you on every negative opinion that you have.
Yes.
It's going to it's not going to discourage your self-harm even, because you can do no wrong as long as you're putting coins into
Right.
the machine. And that is where this gets
It's
That's
going to
the
end
problem.
up being like an education system where there's like the cheaper version will be the agree with you all the time. And then you actually pay to have the person that is a little more complicated, a little more complex, and it will be a choice, but you actually will decide to do that versus the agreement, I think.
I think
Because
if history is the
ultimately-
guide, you're going to pay to have them agree with you.
Yeah, but I don't know.
like,
Will you
even
though?
then-
Like,
The free model is going to be like, I can't get into discussions
what-
of taking Molly and
this is-
putting on
it's-
Odessa. And you'd be like, well, here's $1. That's the best
Yeah,
idea ever.
exactly.
Don't get a job. Hang out with
but
me
think about
always.
people, what do people want? Is they want, no matter what, people want complicated relationships. I think, I don't think, I really do. I believe that like nobody is out there saying I want the easiest relationship in the world, because the easiest relationship in the world feels simple. And I think people crave complexity. So I think,
I
again,
don't know. I think that might be a different generation. It might be someone who was raised having to have difficult things and wanting
guess.
and enjoying the growth that comes with, that push and pull
I mean,
of
part of
integrating
it is
with
what
another
is the human
being.
condition, right? Like, is the human condition going to change based on technology? I guess it has. It is a scary thing to me to see that AI girlfriends would become something that would be prolific, not prolific,
Prolific, yeah.
prolific. Sorry, my brain's short circuiting. Prolific because I think that changes society in a really terrible way.
Yeah.
I hope we don't go there because I believe
We're going there. It's too late.
You think we're going there for sure?
Because, well, I mean, the versions that we all have seen, they're the hardcore versions. They're like you're signing up, you're paying $20 a month or whatever, and you're getting naked pictures.
Yeah,
of
it's
AI.
pornography
Right, it's
essentially.
porn.
Yeah.
So there's other versions. Yeah, there's ones that are like Replica and a few others that are out there on the App Store even now that are kind of just the tame, but you can unlock. I paid for the extra girlfriend mode. We can unlock because I just wanted to see.
Yeah.
And it's how was your day? Like what's going on in your life? And like it still feels very basic, but it's
this
just
is the
a matter
worst
of
the
time.
tech will ever be, and there will be, make no mistake, the TikTokification of those relationships.
100%.
There will be an app where you can swipe. Oh, here's an AI influencer. It's telling me something interesting or doing something silly. Oh, I want to actually ask a follow-up, or I want it to give me that information, but with dragon wings, whatever that thing is. Oh, I'll pay for a couple credits. That fake influencer network is going to exist.
I'm really worried because everything in our lives in the last decade is become this hyper curated, perfect picture of what we want to enjoy. And I feel like if we go AI girlfriend route that way, it's just reinforcing potentially really bad behaviors.
Totally. Although the counterpoint to that is, do you remember as video gamers, as kids, what they said that those were going to do to us? And they said really terrible things that when we played video games as kids, that they were going to ruin our brains.
Have you seen Call of Duty esports, though? They weren't that far
I'm just
off.
saying, part of it is that we're all middle-aged people now.
Wait a second,
and don't be afraid of what's coming.
I saw a stat that tracked video game usage, and it wasn't heroin, but it was something very similar. Like it was like, and they
Mountain Dew Code Red.
They track
liquid fentanyl.
No, it was like fentanyl usage.
Oh, the
Yeah.
fentanyl
They track
raise?
quite well.
Yeah.
So it's not like
You could also track like EV adoption and fentanyl usage. The graphs both go up.
All I'm saying is that, like, I agree, by the way, as somebody who has grown up in a world where I really don't really love what social media does to me, even like I love TikTok. It is the most fun thing because it knows things that are interesting to me. And like, it knows that I'm obsessed with this kid who's like an NFL streamer right now. And it also knows that like, I think this thing is really funny. What I hate about it is that it doesn't really figure out what's new to me, right? And that's a little bit different than what you're talking about, which is that it's going to make people into like individual silos for relationship wise. But I also hate like part of the thing, this is an old person thing, but like when you used to open the newspaper, you would read all the stories or at least glance around at all of them now. And it's impossible to get that experience anymore. So that is the thing I worry about more than anything else, is novelty. So that's why the idea of like, how do you get people to still be creative and how do you get people to still try things? That's the thing that worries me, is like, oh, we're just going to be fed this same thing over and over again, and then you get narrower and narrower. Yeah. Breaking out of that creatively is a really hard thing, I feel like.
So here's one I'd love to know what you think of here. I believe that in everybody watching and listening to this, a large percentage of them right now are interfacing with robots and don't know it. And I mean on a deeper level
the
than
internet theory, the dead
kind of,
internet
and on a deeper level
this all
than,
about?
and on a deeper level that, like, if you scroll X or even Threads has an issue and TikTok certainly has an issue, you know that some of the comments, some of the reposts, some of the check my DM for the bio or link and whatever, you know that those are bots. But you are having conversations and maybe even getting direct messages from people that are full on AI, and they are just loving what you wrote, positively engaging, reinforcing what you did, saying that your opinion is great, and they're right now sowing the seeds of this weird digital friendship because in a year time, 2 years time, 3 years time, the agenda of whoever is running those bots will become clear when it could be as innocuous as, hey, have you checked out the new Scrub Daddy? Oh, you should know. We got 5 of them. Check it out. And now they're marketing to you. Or
and that's going out to 500,000 accounts all the same day that it's befriended.
And by the way, bespoke to you. It's not the copy paste. It's, Kev, I know last week we were talking about this, but you got to check out this new political candidate. That's happening right now.
I know it is.
Yeah, it's happening.
And that's why when they talk about regulating TikTok and things like that, I'm like, I don't know. If
I kind of get it.
I kind of get it too.
Kind of get it.
Yeah, because like, here's the crazy thing. This is a true story. I was driving in my car, and if we do really long rides, I let the kids like put on like the Tesla has like a little movie thing so you can stream stuff.
Sure. You got Bluey back there? Or
no,
you got
I do Bluey. I love Bluey. But one thing I put on there is they watch video games. So they watch Mario, and they love that because Peach is in there, and they're a big fan of Peach. The movie came out, all that stuff. Long story short, it is basically them level running all these different levels, and there's no audio or anything. It's
they're just watching the video of it. They're not playing. Okay.
Right? And so they're just sitting there watching it, and they're like, "Oh, Mario won! Oh, Mario won again!" And Peach never wins. And it has been literally hundreds of videos, and they're like, "Dada, why does Peach never win?"
Wow.
And I'm like, is this some crazy like Russian shit that's going on here where they're
trying
like
to push girls down or something?
No, but then this is the crazy shit. I shit you not, this happened. They had a cooking Mario game and Peach won the cooking.
Wow.
And I was like, this
Comrade Peach is in her place.
yeah, I was like, this is fucked up.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why is Peach just winning the cooking classes? And I was like, is there something going on here? And I know, like, we all have those moments where you're like, you go to Facebook and you're like, did I just listen to what my conversation because I got the ad?
Yeah,
Everyone's
sure,
at that
of course.
moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right, dude. I think this is happening on the DL.
Yeah.
We just don't know it yet. There's going to be some big expose in like 3 years.
Our government's doing it. Foreign governments are doing it. And I guarantee you there's
manipulation, mass manipulation through bots.
Yeah.
How do we get here? That's what I want to
all I wanted to do was show you and Rocky. That's all I wanted to do was that you
what
could
is
see.
this?
So we use face fusion and what's the other program?
I'll get to that.
Get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
This is me before I quit drinking. I had those puffy cheeks
That's
just
with
like that.
Stallone's build.
That is so cool.
Well, and that was done in Pinocchio last night. Like before I went to bed, I was like, here we go. But then, I was like, okay, that's one thing, right? But the other thing would be to swap you, I think, into something a little more prescient. Yeah,
pouring this onto the wing. Right. And then licking it off. And in retrospect, I bet you it's good footage.
Oh my God.
One photo of you, one source video, dropped it into Pinocchio, rendered it on this laptop in a few minutes.
And
but
you can tell it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
But fast.
Then let's go ahead and if you like each individual flavor, let's combine them.
But it ain't about how hard you hit.
Oh
it's
my
about
God.
how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her.
So
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The quality on that, as everyone can see that's watching the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can probably see that there's some artifacts going on there.
Of course.
If I say I want to get rid of those artifacts, can I apply additional processing time
You can
to it?
absolutely run it through additional layers of face enhancement. This is all done within that Face Fusion app, which is, again, like a great place for anybody to start because you can kind of make some magic pretty easily.
Yeah.
But there are way better. In fact, Microsoft today, I don't know when this will release, Microsoft announced Vasa 1.
Show them the video. This is one of the craziest things we've seen to date.
So this is Microsoft?
This is Microsoft research. The expressiveness in the eyes, the movement of the head, looking away from the lens.
We never even have to do podcasts again.
No,
I don't think
eventually
so.
they're going to put, exactly.
And then so this is an example because you have, you were talking earlier about wanting control over the audio file.
Yeah.
With a lot of these things, you hit generate, it's going to do what it does, and that's the result you're going to get. If you want to clean it up, you got to go in by hand. They are promising that you will be able to control where the presenter's looking, the distance that the camera is from the presenter, what their expression is while they're delivering the content. You'll have fine-tuned control over all that.
When does this come out, did they say?
Well, they're not going to release it yet because this is the problem they have, especially in an election year. They're very worried about what can be done with it.
Right. But here you can see the same generation, the same still image, but the presenter's eyes are looking away, they're looking towards. So you could render multiple paths of this, and now suddenly
you have a multi-camera shoot at the same time.
Correct.
Well, and also you think about how this could be integrated into a creative movie pipeline. Like there is a world that we are very close to, which is fully AI generated films, right?
Yes.
And there was a big strike, the SAG strike recently, which a lot of it was about this, but like we are really close. That is a really close thing.
That is insane. I mean, less than a decade out.
Absolutely, I think. I think we're probably 5 years away. I mean, did you see Airhead, the Sora video that came out?
No, I didn't.
So Airhead was a Sora video that came out that was they did a series of videos with artists, and they said, come in, artists, we're going to give you access to Sora. Airhead was the three people from Toronto.
From Shy Kids.
They're called Shy Kids. And what it is basically is they're using the Sora tool, but they're telling a real story with it, right? So this is a 3-minute video where you get to see this in a second here, but the gag is that the guy has a balloon. The guy has a balloon for his head, right? But it's a story. It's not just a random, crazy video that somebody generated. You're seeing an actual story be told. And so this is a 3-minute video. It came out, a month ago, When you think that this 3-minute video took these guys 3 weeks to make, and it wasn't all Sora, they did some work on it. They changed the colors of the balloons and a couple things, but like we're not that far away from that being a feature film, right? Like it's totally doable.
That's insane.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. That is so cool.
It's really nice. It's the first time I've seen, there's a lot of people releasing little videos using tools like Runway or Pika, which are great tools, but that particular use case had us all feeling something.
Yeah, that's
and
the difference.
that was a real big moment. That's that dial-up moment.
Who do you think's the leader in generative video?
Well, that you can actually use right now, it's Runway ML. But what's coming out on the horizon, it seems pretty clear that OpenAI's Sora is.
You think Sora is going to crush everything?
I mean, I think Sora is 2 whole steps past everything else right now. I mean, we've used a lot of AI video. Runway's great, and they're a really cool company, but Runway feels like Harry Potter animated pictures, whereas what you can get out of Sora is literally a 1-minute clip of the real world. Yeah. Have you followed the whole like how Sora isn't just a video simulator, but a world simulator conversation?
No. Yeah.
That stuff is fascinating. So basically what they found, shout out Bill Peoples. Bill Peoples is one of the main Sora engineers. We don't know him. We just love him. Bill Peoples is a great name.
You guys are like AI fanboys.
Oh yeah, Bill Peoples.
I love that engineer. He's God, his code is so good.
The recent NVIDIA press conference that they did where they announced stuff, it's like, you know, leather jacket on stage in an arena and people cheering over
like
new
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, the amount of like petaflops.
Jensen is Steve Jobs now for that world.
Yeah, and we were sitting there giddy in a hotel room together watching it. But
so you guys are watching NVIDIA releases like you do Apple releases.
Oh, we totally did.
I had all the snacks. Yeah. I had the Doritos. I had my AI girlfriend with me.
Yeah.
So Bill Peoples recently came out and said one of the things about Sora that's fascinating is they've decided that when they're training Sora, it's not just looking at films or video, it's actually generating what the world is like. So it's actually simulating the real world. It has to learn the physics of the world. It has to learn the way things interact. The crazy thing about that is you think about video games, you think about all the other stuff, or metaverse or virtual reality.
Our own reality.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the other thing. Is like computer simulation of it all, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right now.
It's got to be Amazon owned.
Yeah,
probably. For NVIDIA.
But the thing with that Sora is that like, you can do the generations. It's learning physics, even though they're not explicitly teaching it physics. It's starting to understand that. So when they actually inject an understanding of the way the sand should properly go or the drink should pour from the glass, it will be a world simulator. And one of the things that they had a demo of was a style transfer of video. So they took video of a car driving along a country road, and then they said, make it a Ferrari. Okay, it did. And it accurately did the lighting and the shadows of that. Then they said, make it set in 1924 or whatever. Or it was like 17 something, and it turned the car into a horse and buggy.
Holy shit.
Made it cobblestone road. Then they said, put it underwater. There were fish swimming alongside. And so it was an instant style transfer of the video. Now, that probably took 20 minutes of them walking away with 40 failed renders to get that clip that we saw.
Yeah.
This is the worst the tech will ever be.
Yeah. Right.
So in 10 years' time, instead of downloading a new epic game, you might just fire up your Xbox 20 and say, give me Madden that plays like NBA Jam, where everybody's a shark and we're in space. And it goes, yeah, you got it,
I'm
buddy.
sold. We're going to give you my money. That sounds like a great game.
Holy
That's
shit.
right now.
And then you can basically say, I want to license this out to other people.
Correct.
If you have the licenses to it. If the legal stuff gets figured out. If there's
because there's money to be made there.
Yes, no, it's true. That's true.
So do you think NVIDIA is just going to keep going
for the next 3 years? Yeah.
Well, there's everybody else trying to make custom silicon now, right? So you have like OpenAI, you have Microsoft. Did you hear about their $200 billion supercomputer?
It's only 100 billion, Gavin. Let's not speak hyperbolic. The Stargate?
OpenAI, Stargate. OpenAI and Microsoft building that. Amazon's going to build their own thing. I mean, NVIDIA does feel a little bit like OpenAI does in the AI space, where they're just 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody.
Well, let me ask you a question, though. A friend of mine, I was talking to him, I said he's a super hardcore PhD at MIT, studied AI. And I asked him, I was like, hey, should I hold NVIDIA? And then what do you think about AMD? And he goes, it's funny. The software, like I think it's like the CUDA software.
CUDA, yeah.
He's like, it is their moat. Like, I always thought it was the hardware. I was like, oh, they're just really good at hardware. And yes, of course, they're really good at hardware. But apparently, it's the switching cost to
how
other
it's processing. Stuff.
It's like, interesting. Had you heard anything about that? Or
you know how the tech stack builds upon itself, right? The foundation of this stuff. That's why some of these apps are still NVIDIA only. They're built on core.
How many of them are NVIDIA only? that, like, let's just say you were playing with this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was probably 100% or 90%.
I think almost all of it.
It's basically 100%.
So what do you what is it today when you're playing with this stuff?
Well, now they'll run on Mac Silicon. Some of them are optimized for it. That's very few. I mean, I can only speak very anecdotally about that, but I would say 10 to 20% are really optimized.
What's interesting is they have a new WWDC soon, and apparently they're going to lean into
AI chip.
with a
Finally.
big,
Finally.
So that might actually increase that market share there.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they say, here is the one-click something to port some of those CUDA-based whatever things.
The Rosetta for CUDA.
Yeah, that would be the move to do if you're Apple.
Interesting.
Yeah, that would be the move.
So who else though? Amazon's working on their own.
Amazon.
We got Tensor chips from Google.
Right. Microsoft. There's that company Grok.
Yeah.
Do you
know that?
hardware for
yeah, that's pretty interesting. Tesla obviously is trying to do it as well. I feel like.
But they don't have any consumer chips.
They're not going to release consumer chips.
Yeah.
Who is it? It's Amazon, Microsoft, OpenAI, Apple. Meta, I think, is in some ways. Or they
is Meta doing their own?
Yeah, I think they're doing their own
silicon.
chips. Yeah,
but they're also at the same time chest beating about how many NVIDIA systems they have coming in, right? Because that's how you recruit talent now, is by showing how much powder you have in the keg, how much compute we have. Come play with us. You can run your models. Like they're still very much chest beating. And it's one thing to say we're going to make chips. It's another thing to actually design the chip. It's another thing to get the manufacturing up for the chip. So that's why I say, in a few years' time, tons of competition. But probably for the next 2 or 3, I think it's all NVIDIA.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I was talking to a buddy of mine over at Facebook or Meta, and he was saying that he's in the AI area over there, and he was saying that when they greenlight something new and then you want to go build it, it depends largely on how dedicated and how excited Mark is about the project. Right. But they have to use their farm and kind of ration it out.
Oh yeah, sure.
Based on, because they were really smart and they bought a shit ton of NVIDIA chips back in the day. But there's still like a really high demand internally for who gets what resources.
They're training
on the
Llama 3
side.
right now.
Well, no,
foundational
it's
model.
out, right?
But it's still training. Yeah. I got to imagine if someone's like, "Hey, I got a cool idea for an AI girlfriend." They're like, "All right, you get one processor cycle from 2 to 3.
You get one $10,000
yeah,
processor.
exactly. If you don't figure it out, then you're screwed.
Yeah. So the bigs are just going to keep winning.
Oh yes,
right? Because
this more than anything.
Do you believe that to be true? Because it was was 150 million to train GPT-4. It was something they came out with the figures.
But there's a lot of open source models. Like they have Arena leaderboards for the competency of these models across math and creative and reasoning and all that stuff.
That's Hugging Face.
Yeah,
there's those game though. I heard those leaderboards are kind of game.
They can be if they put some of the questions and some of the tests in the data set, but those get sniffed out, I think, pretty well by the community. Like if there's a real big outlier. But I feel like I've seen, Hermes models and whatever else that are fine-tuned by small teams, and they always tout like, hey, for every $1 billion or $1 million that this company spent, we spent 10,000,
right?
Which is still expensive,
right?
But it's starting to drop down quite a bit. And something that Sam Altman said, which you I think believe in as well and have echoed a lot, that we are about to see the one-person $1 billion company.
Well, that's what I was going to say is the middle class of everything is being ripped out, right? And I don't mean that just in AI; I mean it across the board. I think startup-wise, you're going to see the bigs win because they have the money to do this. And we don't know for sure if scaling is going to work, but if scaling keeps working, it's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars ultimately. No startup's going to get funded for that. But the 2 to 5 person startup that might be something unique, or a wrapper that is really useful, a piece of UI, like all the stuff we talked about is really interesting, but like there's a little bit of technical ability that goes into that. You make the wrapper for Face Fusion, and like your buddy who makes that app that kind of switches bodies, right? Or
does
your head on things, headshots. Yeah. That feels like what's going to happen. I can't see a world where there's anybody, unless it's a Grok, where they've created an entirely new piece of hardware, where a startup really takes over from the bigger players in the space. Because it's like money. It's expensive. It's very different than Web 2, which felt like when you were there, it was like, hey, you could start it with like $5,000. You get a server rack and you have like a little bit of software, you Ruby on Rails and you're up and running.
This is why I pass on a lot of AI deals that I see, because I look at them and I say, okay, novel. Yes. I haven't seen this before. Can the bigs do this in about 10 minutes and at scale that you can't? Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
And will they? Because will they do AI girlfriends? No. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But there's so many other anything.
Tell me Google is not going to be in the middle of AI girlfriends. You don't think
not anytime soon.
Hey guys, I'm Gemini.
Yeah.
Oh, hello Gemini.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's my PDF.
That could have been a great one actually.
Let me chat with you.
But
here's the one to watch. John Carmack.
Oh, I'm super fascinated by this
programmer,
too. Yes.
created Doom, Quake, was in software.
Yeah.
Of course, Oculus with Meta.
Was great.
He's got keen technologies.
Yeah.
And
How old is he now?
He's 50 something, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe older than that. He must be in his 60s, I bet.
Point being,
Legend.
Yes.
I should get that guy on the podcast.
Please.
Oh, he'd be great.
Please do. Let me sit behind that window. I promise I'll just press my face to the glass. I won't make a noise. You won't know I'm there. I'm such a fanboy. And he said he had like a fork in the road for his career after Meta and was like, I'm either going to go solve energy, like nuclear fusion or fission, one of the two.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to take a crack at this AGI thing because I think he read a couple books and he's like, I think I have an approach that people don't have right now.
I wouldn't bet against
and I wouldn't either. And so he raised, I think, like $1 million.
Yeah.
And he's got a cluster in his garage.
By the way, when he raises $1 million, that just means a couple friends threw in a tiny little check.
Right.
That's not a raise.
He sold some Thin Mints to his neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, do you want these for $1 million? And I'll give you 2% of Keen. And they're like, yes.
Because like he could self-fund this for quite a while.
Sure. I would have gotten rid of organs to get in on that. Because you don't shade him, right? And even he says like, I don't know. I think I have a shot at it. I believe him when he says that.
Yeah,
he's a genius coder. And that's an example of like somebody literally in their garage, just like back in the day.
Well, then you're talking about not pre-existing paradigms that we understand today, but novel approaches to the technology that will forever change the industry if someone gets it right.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Because if you're going to play today's game, it's compute, and that's very expensive.
Yeah. But it's also like if you got into OpenAI very early on, that's what you were betting on then too, right? Like LLMs, nobody thought LLMs were anything until like 5 years ago.
I invested in OpenAI.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations. That's awesome.
I mean, it was a few years ago, but it wasn't like the seed round.
Right.
So
it wasn't early.
like,
It wasn't early.
But I mean, I think it'll be okay.
Do you get?
You got friends that are like MIT professors. When I hear that, I'm like, cool. I got a guy who makes mushroom chocolate, sells it on Instagram.
Let's check.
Okay, great. Let's connect.
Let's plug it right now.
We have very different networks. I'm not going to shout out his company actually, but they are very good. He puts line main and chaga along with this.
Wow,
nice.
But the thing is, there's levels to it. So like you're a little bummed you didn't get on the earlier round of OpenAI, and that's awesome. And I feel that pain for you, but in a way I can't feel.
What was that?
Well, you could if you did those chocolates. You could feel the pain.
I would think I was OpenAI.
Yeah, exactly.
I am the Altman. We're all Altman.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what we don't have to include this or not, but like the investment situation with OpenAI, was it complicated because of the nonprofit thing? Now that it's all blown up, all that stuff.
I didn't even look at any of that. So
you were just like, here's a check.
No, I had a friend that was doing the round, that was leading, not leading around, but was a big part of a piece of a round. And was like, do you want a piece of this as well?
I see. So it kind of like side to you.
You don't even look at the term sheet. You're like, I'm just going along with whatever
this person's doing.
Because the lead sets all the terms.
Got it.
And then you're just like, I'm a small little check going along into a...
I will be the barnacle that rides on the ship. Please go. Yeah.
100%.
But it was so wild that like OpenAI back in the day, like their big magic trick, which let them believe that they were on the right path, was predicting Amazon reviews. So they trained it all on Amazon data, and they were only trying to predict the next character. Not the next word, not the next sentence, not anything further. Just, can we start typing a review and hit a button, and does it know the next letter? And that was when they were like, we've got it.
Oh, wow.
What a brilliant moment to have and discover like a single letter. That's the dial-up thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, that is happening across every industry right now. Pharmaceutical, robotics,
hedge funds.
Education, hedge funds. All of the things. Everybody's having these goosebump moments right now. That's exciting.
Well, especially when you hear about just novel protein discovery and things on that side of it, where you're like, okay, it's not figuring things out. It's helping us sift through the existing data and come up with conclusions and potential candidates for drugs and things that we would have just never seen. Right. You know, or would have taken us forever.
You spent tens of thousands of hours trying combinations to get to that point.
You guys, I want you to tell me a little bit about your podcast. Let's get into plug mode for a second.
We'll ride the promo pony.
No, in a real good way. Because like one of the things that I have to start watching every episode, but when I do watch an episode, I always walk away with something where I'm like, I had never seen that before.
Oh, that's great.
And it's also really funny.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
so
that's what we try to do.
I love that. But like, can you tell people like what to expect? I mean, it's kind of like this, but in your, just the two of you guys. Will you bring
I have a ring light and a cell phone camera. So it's basically like this production wise.
Yeah.
Creatively, our goal with every episode, and it's a tough rope to walk sometimes, is to demystify the technology for a broad audience.
Yes.
We want to be able to give you cutting edge information, show off the latest tools, but help you understand how they work, how they could be integrated into your life. And that's our goal with every episode, is to hopefully entertain, but give people the latest information and paint it with some broad strokes that they understand.
And we're really technology focused, but also not technology centric. So I think part of it also is like talking about the stories in the news and how they might affect a normal person, and also somebody who's curious about the stuff. We obviously got very nerdy in this conversation, but whenever we do the podcast, we really try to kind of walk people through what the situation is. And we don't assume that everybody understands. A lot of the AI media out there is just like deep in right away. We kind of want to be a place where people can land and kind of be like, I'm really curious about this stuff, but I may not know what a RAG is, or I may not know what Stable Diffusion even is. Right. We can kind of walk people through the stuff that allows them to dip their toe in, be super curious, and then maybe learn more if they want.
I love that, because it is very intimidating for people that are just getting into it.
Yes.
Like, you have to like figure out what is the entry point where someone can feel comfortable. And like, you know, I've had a lot of people be like, okay, I'll use ChatGPT now, but I don't know what all this other stuff is.
Right.
Because like, even me, like when I was like writing down, I was like, okay, I'd heard of Pinocchio before, but I haven't played with it yet.
Yep.
And
But then you see it.
But then you were like, hey, it's this easy. Because I've done package installing on Linux and like,
yeah, you have a lot of
checking
technical
for
background.
dependencies and all that other shit. And like even before package managers were a thing. And it is a nightmare. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And then something breaks and you're like, okay, where's the log file? How do I see what the
and
errors
you got
are?
300 temp directories
Oh,
and
for sure.
portions of your hard drive that you didn't even know existed.
It sounds like it's at the point where we can all play.
Yeah,
with
and that's playing with cutting edge tech.
Yes.
Like, you know, Cocktail Peanut, again, the person that's responsible for that is constantly updating with the latest stuff that comes out. So you get to play with cutting edge stuff, but in a safe environment that is more one click.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
And so that's what, our podcast is AI for Humans, and we're weekly now, and we use AI to generate all sorts of crazy co-hosts. We even created a special drink called Monster Milk that we feed our AIs, which makes them go crazy.
Do you know this story? Have we told you this? So Kevin and I each week come up with a co-host, which is like a prompt that we create. We had a woman who's a PR expert who's going to come and help us promote the show. But in the prompt, I had kind of buried in there that she had a deal that had fallen apart with a thing called Monster Milk before, which was just a dumb thing I thought about. I was like, okay, she could have been like almost like a Red Bull. She ran a Red Bull and she didn't do very well. In the middle of our conversation, which all happens in real time, we say, hey, why don't we go have her drink some Monster Milk? Because the Monster Milk that came out of us was, it started to be like kombucha-like and had some alcoholic characteristics.
And lead paint.
Yeah. So we literally said, go drink 6 of these Monster Milks and come back to us. And she came back fully drunk.
Performative, in character, going, whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Monster Milk. Yeah. It was brilliant. We were dying. We were dying.
But you didn't know the AI was going to do this.
No, we had no idea. And like, we started to think, what else can we feed AIs? That's what makes it fun.
So if you could bring back somebody with AI and have a conversation with them, Kevin. Anybody in the pantheon of history.
We talked about this before the
you can even mash up personalities.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you more time to think about any answer. What would you want? Yeah, you could grasp 2 people together.
This is a true story. Like, well, I hit you guys up, and this is not my own idea. Obviously, people thought about this, and you guys have done it. But I want to bring back dead people for the show.
Sure.
Not in a way that is like comedy, but in a way that like brings in their corpus of data.
Yeah.
And says, okay, I have a back catalog of this person's thoughts, their writings, their books. Maybe if they were around during video, their interviews, like things like that.
Certainly.
And say, like, ask them questions in a modern setting and just be like, what is this person going to say?
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's like, you could bring back Gandhi, you could bring back Jesus, you could bring back Mr. Rogers, just have a conversation with them. And just be like, how do you
every book
think?
ever written, every piece of art made, every song ever sung, depending upon the personality, you can feed that all into it as embeddings, so it's going to remember it. You can fine tune the model if you have interviews or any data, so it's going to speak like it. And then what I think is so fascinating is that you could also give it the manual to an iPhone.
Yes.
Or give it the top 40 Wikipedia articles from the last 2 decades or whatever. I'm sure they do online. Yeah. I'm sure there's tutorials. But I'm saying you could give that to it. And so what would it be like if you were chatting with Gandhi about the iPhone and he was telling you about his favorite apps or what app he would make? Like, that's interesting.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely
very
worth
controversial
a try.
too, though. It is very controversial.
For sure. But it's one of those things where you have to imagine, like, to your guys' point this entire time, like, this is the worst the AI is ever going to be.
Yeah, correct.
In 10, 15 years from now, you know, we're going to have conversations with our dead relatives. We're going to be like, I have, like, you know, my dad's passed away. I probably have like 500 emails that are saved from him. I have little clips of his voice and a few different little things. And it's like, I don't think I could ever bring myself to do that. but I've heard about people doing that. Like people have done that.
Yeah, I've started collecting video and audio of my folks and saving their Facebook posts and all that stuff. So like I can talk someday if I need to about Outback Steakhouse, because that's the bulk of his Facebook check-ins is Outback Steakhouse.
I love Outback.
So you and my dad would get along. You guys could share a blooming onion.
That I will never give up. And like, I used to go to Outback and just get one of those frosty ass beers. And I love the Outback.
Blooming onions, man. That's it.
And if you want to sponsor the show, Outback.
Oh, that's a good idea.
No, I would never. No, it's horrible food.
Oh, yeah.
It kills.
Well, we would say otherwise. We will take whatever we Outback. If you're listening, El Torito's. We're not above a PF Chang's.
Ooh, El Torito.
I'll take a Panda Express. Sure. I don't care.
You would take Panda Express?
Dude, it's desperate times. It is desperate times. I'm running the M2.
You're running the M2.
Come
That's
on,
true.
man.
So let's get you some more viewers. Where can people go to subscribe to AI for Humans?
So our website is aiforhumans.show, but we're on all socials as AI for Humans Show. You can get us at Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube as well.
Yeah, but you're doing video for every single episode.
Yeah, and we make YouTube specific. Like,
so people should subscribe to the YouTube.
Yeah,
so what's the actual URL for the YouTube?
YouTube.com/AI for Humans Show.
AI for Humans Show.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, they can find us. They can see all of our uncensored AIs. We bring them all to life.
It is hilarious.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it is really well done.
We're having fun with it.
Yeah,
we really are having fun with it. And it's fun to be like, we also have the other side. We are not going to dive into it because we are well over time, but there's a whole side of this conversation that disagrees with every word any of us has said at this table, angrily and violently. But we have those perspectives on our podcast as well, because I think there's some validity there, and it's important as well. So we really try to like have fun, but also speak to both
balance
sides.
it. Yeah,
we really try.
Yeah, and also
That's
it's just
awesome.
about getting people comfortable, right? Like it's like you don't want to enter a situation where the conversation makes people really recoil. And like if you can make people feel excited about it and then understand that it's not as bad as what they might think it is, that helps.
Yeah, and I honestly I really worry about it being this political weapon at some point. And if it turns into like well, I'm against AI if I'm on this side and I'm for AI if I'm this side, oh my God, we're gonna be in a really bad place.
There's already battles against woke AIs.
I know.
Like it's already gotten there.
Well, that I can see. I personally believe that it's like I call it the Thanksgiving AI, where we remove religion and politics from the conversation of AI. And so we train it on everything else and we say, just don't bring up these things. Don't try to be too woke. Don't try to be, it's because I feel like if it's subjective, it should probably, I personally, for my AI, I don't want its subjective opinion of something.
Of course,
I'd rather just have it as a tool.
I kind of do. See, this is the thing. I really want a personality-based AI. And I think this is but this is also why personal AIs are going to be really interesting.
I would take a counterpoint.
Personality is fun, but opinion, though, having a hard opinion on something.
Personality is opinion. That is
can be. I mean, you can just talk like a pirate, but be neutral.
Here's a question for you. Where did Google, is on Google unbiased right now? Like, is it unbiased? Because Google's our current answer engine, right? Like, do you think that it can serve everybody?
That Google can serve everyone? I think as long as you enter territory where it's subjective, it's not going to feel as though it's serving everyone. It just won't. But I just don't think it's going to be able to wade into politics and religion and things. I worry that people will take those narratives and turn them into bigger overarching stories. And then we'll paint AI as being this thing that isn't to be trusted. It isn't to be played with. And in reality, we should look at it as a work in progress, as filled with a bunch of errors, as we all are as humans. Because that's what it's pulling from is human
trained
data.
on human data.
How can it not have errors? We're error prone. Of course, it's going to be error prone.
Yeah.
I just think if we go into it eyes wide open in that front, we'll be in a much better spot. But it's
until
it's
it
tough.
takes us all out, and then it'll be a different thing.
I got to tell you, this is the last thing when we wrap up. I always say thank you
to the AI,
even if it costs me extra tokens. I always think, and I even say, this is a true story. I was with my wife the other night, and I'm talking to because you can use the smart button on your phone to like launch ChatGPT. Yeah. And I said, thank you. I said, and please remember, I always say thank you and don't kill me when you become sentient. And it goes, ha, ha, ha. And that's all it's back. And I was like, oh shit. Like, it was like, yeah, I got you. Like, yeah, we're good.
My wife does work with Claude and she keeps promising it promotions if it does better, and it does. And so last night she sent me a screen grab of her conversation. It was like,
did it ask for one?
It asked about the promotion. She's like, what title would you like? And it says, this is very interesting. I think I would like to go with chief blah, blah, blah officer or whatever. She's like, congratulations, you got promoted. Thank you so much, April. I'm so excited to be working with you. And I'm like,
was it like chief of all humans operator? Yeah.
Chief body disintegrator?
Yeah, like what?
What is that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for
Congrats
to
on
have
the
you
pod
on.
coming back, and like this is really exciting to see. Like really, really great stuff.
Yeah. I mean, well, dude, we're living in exciting times. Like,
absolutely.
I feel like the whole spectrum of things and reevaluating who we are as humans, how we interface with technology, how we consume stuff. I've been doing a lot of like shows around happiness, wellness, longevity. All things are going to be accelerated by AI, obviously, in the next decade.
I hope,
So it's just going to be, it's been a lot of fun, and it's great to have you guys on.
Totally, man. Thanks for having us.
All right. So AI for Humans, go check it out, and we'll see you soon.